Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees. Thank you all for joining in for the special Kartik evening program. So we'll start with the study of Easy Journey to Other Planets by His Divine Grace, Avicharanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And then we'll go on to reciting the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the knowing which we can develop those qualities by which we can become dear to Lord Sri Krishna. Then we will go on to the recitation of Gopi Geet from Srimad Bhagavatam, which we know how Prataparudra Maharaj recited that, and he got this embrace from Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He got this mercy while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not want to associate with a materialist or a king, but by simply reciting these Gopi Geet prayers, he got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll recite that Gopi Geet for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga. And then finally, we will do Damodar Ashtakam prayers and one lesson from Damodar Leela, and then offering of Diya. So with that, we will start. We'll start with the prayers. Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Brajana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradhayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Dvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpadharu Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Dharalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Harihi Om Tatsat. Hare Krishna. So again, welcome all of you all for this evening session. So we will start quickly with the study of Srila Prabhupada's book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. We started that already. We completed the preface. Now today we will continue with chapter number 1. It's a very small book. So we'll try to see how fast we can complete this book, and then we can start the next book. So we are on chapter number 1. Yeah. So we were reading yesterday about anti-material. What is anti-material? Anti-material is something that is not subject to deterioration. That is not subject to birth, growth, maintenance, producing byproducts, dwindling, and death. Right? The 6 changes. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatrana muyati. So we understood that what is anti-material is what is not material, what is actually spiritual. So the material body is material, right? The material body, the jada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so we were saying that this material body is jada. That means it is subject to maintenance, it is subject to deterioration, it is subject to death. Whereas anti-material is that which has no death, that which has no birth, that which has no disease, that which has no old age, right? That means it's completely spiritual. That's why the soul is said to be spiritual, whereas the soul is encaged or encased within a body which is material. Yeah, so that is what is explained by here by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is mentioning about how in this material body, being situated in this material body, we can become transcendental, like that. So, and then Prabhupada also talks about how the various scientific discoveries that we are doing it, which actually create some kind of facility for the material body. Those might actually cause a disturbance if it is not properly utilized in the service of the Lord. That's what we're going to read today. So devotees can raise your hands and then we can start reading. Right? Prabhupada mentioned how the anti-material particle, which is the spiritual body, is just diagrammatically opposite to the material body, which is subject to birth, death, disease, and old age. And dhiras tatra namuyati. Because why does the soul or the jiva not get bewildered by this change? Because just like we are not bewildered by the change within the body, right? We have, when we see our 20-year-old or 20 years back or 40 years back photograph, right? We see that we were a child, and then after some time we were say 5-6-year-old, and then teenager, and then we are now seeing the photographs of our children where we are looking old, like that, like 40 plus, like that. So when we are not bewildered by such change within the body, why should we get bewildered by the final change, which is called as death? That's what is mentioned by Prabhupada here. That's why adhiras tatrana muyati, a sober person is not bewildered even by this particular change. Okay, so let's request Leela Nandini Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji. This description of a living body from there. Mataji, you need to unmute yourself. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Dandat Pranam.
Yes, Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Yes, go ahead.
Anti-material particle, the material body is progressively changing from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth to old age, after which the anti-material particle leaves the old, unworkable body and takes up another material body. This description of a living body confirms the scientific discovery that energy exists in two forms. When one of them, the anti-material particle, is separated from the material body, the latter becomes useless for all purposes. As such, the anti-material particle is undoubtedly superior to the material energy. No one, therefore, should lament for the loss of material energy. All varieties of sense perception in the categories of heat and cold Hare Krishna, Madhji. No one therefore should lament for the loss of material energy. All varieties of sense perception, the categories of heat and cold, happiness and distress, are but interactions of material energy which come and go like seasonal changes. The temporary appearance and disappearance of such material interactions confirms that the material body is formed of a material energy inferior to the living force or jiva energy. Any intelligent man who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, understanding that they are different material phases resulting from the interactions of the inferior energy, is competent to regain the anti-material world, where life is eternal, full of permanent knowledge and bliss. The anti-material world is mentioned here in addition. Okay, thank you.
Sorry. I was on mute. Yeah, thanks, Mataji. Hare Bol. Thank you. So here, Prabhupada is mentioning about what Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. Matra sparshas kaunteya sito ushna sukha dukkada agama painu anityas tam sitikshashva bharata. So it is the nature of the material world. There is sometimes happiness, there is sometimes sadness, there is sometimes heat, there is sometimes cold, right? But adhiras tatrana muyati. Matra sparshas kaunteya Sitoshna, Sukha Dukkada. So they come and go, like the appearance of the summer and the winter seasons. Happiness comes, happiness goes. Distress comes, distress goes. Agama paino anitya stam titikshashwa bharata. Titikshwa means a sober person. The person tolerates such changes, just like we tolerate heat and cold when it is summer and winter seasons. Similarly, we need to tolerate the situations of happiness and distress. So the acharyas explain, why do we need to even tolerate happiness, right? Because happiness is something we all want. So why do we have to tolerate happiness? Why can't we enjoy happiness? Right? We need to tolerate happiness, because when we get happiness, then what is on the anvil is distress, right? We should understand that, right? This is a cycle, so nothing is going to be eternal, right? Agama paino anityas, right? Anitya means that this is also temporary. This happiness is also temporary, so we tolerate it, just like we tolerate suffering, because in both situations we have to engage in devotional service, irrespective of whether it is a happy situation or a sad situation, whether it is a situation of heat, whether it is a situation of cold, like that. Whatever be the external situation, it should not affect our internal consciousness, which is to practice devotional service. All right, Sindhu Mataji can go ahead. The anti-material world is mentioned here from there.
The anti-material world is mentioned here. And in addition, information is given that in the anti-material world, there is no seasonal fluctuation. Everything there is permanent, blissful, and full of knowledge. But when we speak of it as a world, we must remember that it has forms and paraphernalia of various categories beyond our material experiences. The material body is destructible, and as such, it is changeable and temporary. So is the material world. But the anti-material living force is non-destructible, and therefore it is permanent. Expert scientists have thus distinguished the different qualities of the material and the non-material particles as temporary and permanent, respectively. The discoverers of the two forms of matter have yet to find out the qualities of antimatter, but a vivid description is already given in the Bhagavad Gita as follows. The scientists can make further research on the basis of this valuable information. The anti-material particle is finer than the finest of material particles. This living force is so powerful that it spreads its influence all over the material body. The antimaterial particle has immense potency in comparison to the material particle, and consequently, it cannot be destroyed. This
Hare
is but the
Krishna.
beginning
Thank you, Mataji. So you can read again. I just want to give a particular point here. So what is this antimaterial particle that you're talking about? It is a soul, right? It is said that the soul is 1 by 10,000 tip of a hair. That is the size of the soul, which cannot be even seen with the most advanced type of microscope, right? We cannot see the soul because that is the size of the soul, 1 by 10,000 tip of the hair. But the soul is what permeates the consciousness in our body, right? We say he has left, right? Who has left? The soul has left the body. And the person whom we've been seeing in the form of the body is still there, lying on the ground, isn't it? But whom do we say he is left? He is gone, right? We're talking about that jiva or that soul who has left the body, because of whom the body was, acting, talking, speaking, walking, etc. Right? When this antimaterial particle leaves the body, then what remains is the material body, which is jada, which cannot do anything of its own. Right? The body is able to talk, walk, execute various purposes only when the soul is actually present in the body. So the soul is anti-material, and what remains is the material body. And the soul is not destructible. What is that verse? वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. Right? The soul is indestructible. The soul simply takes new bodies according to the consciousness that we have developed during our life. So at the time of death, whatever is our consciousness, the soul will immediately take another body. According to the karmas, according to the consciousness, according to the desires that we have developed. The subtle body will take up a new material body according to this desire. So in this way, this transmigration process is described in Bhagavad Gita by Srila Prabhupada in the purport and Lord Sri Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, so Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. This is but the beginning of the description of the antimaterial particle in the Bhagavad Gita. It is further explained as follows. The finest form of the antimaterial particle is encased within the gross and subtle material bodies. Although the material bodies, both gross and subtle, are subject to destruction,
The finer antimaterial particle is eternal. One's interest, therefore, should be in this eternal principle. The perfection of science will occur when it is possible for the material scientist to know the qualities of the antimaterial particle and liberate it from the association of non-permanent material particles. Such liberation would mark the culmination of the scientific progress. Continue,
Okay,
Mataji.
thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Right. So, what is the perfection of science? See, what is the science? Actually, spiritual subject matters is the transcendental science. Right. Even in the normal material scientific discoveries, there is a lot of assumptions that are made when certain theories are conceived. Right. So, even in spiritual science, it is said that we have to invest faith first. Right. Only when we invest faith and we engage in this process of devotional service, will we get the intelligence to understand how the spiritual science works, right? In 10.11, Krishna says, Teshamevanu partam aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayami atmabhavasto jnana deepena bhashvataha. So this spiritual science or the spiritual knowledge is not something that we can acquire using our material intelligence. It is not possible. However, this spiritual knowledge can be acquired by proper shravanam from a bona fide authority, and this spiritual authority will be able to lighten the transcendental knowledge within our hearts, because they are non-different from the Supreme Lord, because they are delivering the message which is non-different from the message of the Lord, right? That is why it is said that we need to follow one of the four bona fide Guru Paramparas to actually understand this transcendental science. Otherwise, we will only simply get deluded by all of this information that is available. There is information explosion, but there is no jnana, there is no vijnana actually. Right? Too much of knowledge, too much of information, but nothing is actually percolating to actual practice or actual transformation in our life. Right? That is why it is said, water everywhere, but no water to drink. Right? So much of ocean water is there, but can we drink that water? We cannot. Right? We cannot even drink a little bit of that water to quench our thirst. Similarly, there is information explosion, lot of so-called knowledge which is there, but how much of it is going to help our evolution of the soul? How much is going to help us go back to Godhead? Right? Only that knowledge which is received in the bona fide disciplic succession from our spiritual masters is actually going to help us go back to Godhead. Otherwise, all the other knowledge is going to help us better our material conditions, perhaps, but it is ultimately useless in the ultimate objective of our attaining Krishna Prema. So let's move forward. Okay, so who will read now? Karpagavali Mataji, go ahead. The perfection of science will occur.
Thank you, Mataji Nadatna. The perfection of science will occur when it is possible for the material scientist to know the qualities of the antimaterial particle and liberate it from the association of non-permanent material particles. Such liberation would mark the culmination of scientific process. There is partial truth in the scientist's suggestion that there may exist also another world consisting of antimaterial atoms, and that a clash between the material and antimaterial worlds will result in the annihilation of both. There is a clash which is continually going on. The annihilation of the material particles is taking place at every moment, and non-material particle is striving for liberation. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita as follows. The non-material particle, which is the living entity, influences the material particle to work. This living entity is always indestructible. As long as the non-material particle is within the lump of material energy known by the names of gross and subtle bodies, then the entity is manifest as a living unit. In the continuous clashing between the two particles, the non-material particle is never annihilated. No one can destroy the antimaterial particle at any time, past, present, or future. And therefore, we think that the theory maintaining that the material and antimaterial worlds may clash, resulting in the annihilation of both worlds, is correct only within the context of the scientist's limited definition of antimatter. The Bhagavad Gita explains the nature of antimaterial particle, which is never annihilated. The fine and immeasurable antimaterial particle is always indestructible, permanent or eternal. After a certain period, however, its engagement by material particles is annihilated. This same principle also operates in the case of material and antimaterial worlds. No one should fear the annihilation of the antimaterial particle, for it survives the annihilation of material worlds. Everything that is created is annihilated at a certain stage. Both the material body and the material world are created, and they are therefore subject to annihilation. The antimaterial particle, however, is never created, and consequently, it is never annihilated. It is also corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita. The antimaterial particle, which is the vital force, is never born or created. It exists internally. It has neither birth dates or death dates. It is neither repeatedly created nor repeatedly destroyed. It is eternally existing, and therefore it is the oldest of the old, and yet it is always fresh and new. Although the metal particle is annihilated, the antimetal particle is never affected. The
Hare
principle.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Right. So here, Nainam Chintanti Shastrani, right? Krishna tells Arjuna, right, that no weapon can actually destroy the soul. Right? The soul is indestructible, and the material body is always to be destroyed. Right. And therefore, here Prabhupada is also talking about the material world and the material body, whichever is created out of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, comes with an expiry date. Right. This body will annihilate at this particular point in time. The material world will be annihilated at the end of the day of Brahma once, and then again at the end of Brahma's life again, right? So there is an expiry date that is always prescribed for anything that is material. This is what Lord Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita. But ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanya mane sharire. What is that? When the body dies, there is some antimaterial within the body which never dies. What is that? That is the soul. So the soul is referred to here as the antimaterial particle. And when the material particle is annihilated, which is when the body is annihilated, the antimaterial particle is never affected. So what is not affected? The soul is not affected. So that's what it is. Okay, so let's move forward. Deepak Prabhu, please unmute yourself and you can read. This principle is also applicable.
Hare Krishna. The principle is also applicable to the antimaterial universe as well as to the antimaterial particle. When the material universe is annihilated, the antimaterial universe exists in all circumstances. This will be explained in more detail later. The scientists may also learn the following from Bhagavad Gita. The learned man who knows perfectly well that the antimaterial particle is indestructible knows that it cannot be annihilated by any means. The atomic scientists may consider annihilating the material world by nuclear weapons, but his weapons cannot destroy the antimaterial world. The antimaterial particle is more clearly explained in the following lines. It is neither cut into pieces by any material weapon, nor it is burned by fire, nor is it moistened by water, nor withered, nor dried up, nor evaporated in the air. It is indivisible, non-flammable, and insoluble. Because it is internal, it can enter into and leave any sort of body. Being studied by constitution, its qualities are always fixed. It is inexplicable because it is contrary to all material qualities. It is unthinkable by the ordinary brain. It is unchangeable. No one, therefore, should ever lament for what is eternal antimaterial principle.
So, Nainam Chintanti Shastrani, Nainam Dhariti Pavakaha, Na Chaivana Bhavishyama, Sarve Vaya Ataha Param. Right? Krishna tells Arjuna that the soul is not cut by any material weapon, nor is it Dhariti Pavakaha, nor is it burnt by fire, nor is it moistened by water, nor withered, nor dried up. Right? The soul is eternal and it stays eternal without any change, without any deterioration, right? Without producing any byproducts, right? It's all the nature of the material particle that it grows, it maintains, it produces byproducts, it dwindles, it dies, etc. That is all anti-material. That is all material, which is the body. What is anti-material? That is the soul, which never dries, which can never get moistened, which can never get burnt, which can never get extinguished by any factor of this material world. Yes, Prabhu, go on. Thus in the Bhagavad Gita.
Thus in the Bhagavad Gita and in all other Vedic literatures, the superior energy, antimaterial principle, is accepted by the vital force or the living spirit. This is also called the Jiva. This living principle cannot be generated by any combination of material elements. There are 8 material principles which are described as inferior energies, and they are earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. Apart from these is the living force or the antimaterial principle, which is described as the superior energy. These are called energies because they are wielded and controlled by the supreme living being, the personality of Godhead Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So we will end here. So Bhumirapu, Nalo Vayu, Kam Mano Buddhi Revacha. Right? These are the 8 material elements. And Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Apareya Mitastvanya Prakritim Vidhi Me Param. So apart from these material elements, there is a superior force or the living force who is controlling these material objects, and who is controlled by the super soul, which is the superior energy. So the super soul, and then there is the soul, and then there is this this material body, right? So the body is controlled by the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego, right? Which are the subtle elements. And then the soul in itself is controlled by the super soul. Like Krishna says, Natvevaham jatu nasham, Natvam neme janadibha, na chaivana bhavishyaham, sarve vaiha ataparam. That means Krishna tells Arjuna, you and I have passed through several births and deaths, right? What has passed through several births and deaths? Well, Krishna is saying, I am remembering all of my pastimes, all of my avatars, whenever I have appeared and I have disappeared, but you don't remember it, right? Because when Arjuna actually comes with Krishna in all of his incarnations, right? But Krishna is saying, you don't remember all of those, whereas I do remember, right? This is when Arjuna asks Krishna that you are of my same age. How do I believe that you have actually given this knowledge to the sun god? Right? Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam. Krishna says, I have given this knowledge to sun god. And then Arjuna is saying, how do I believe that you have given this knowledge to sun god? Because you are of the same age as me. And that's when Krishna telling Arjuna that I remember all of our past and present lives, whereas you don't remember, right? So we are always under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Mata Smriti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Whenever we need to remember something, Krishna gives us the knowledge. When we need to forget something, then Krishna gives us forgetfulness. According to our desire, what do we want to do? Whether we want to indulge in sense gratification, whether we want to indulge in service of the Lord, according to our desire, Krishna will give us knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance to serve the Lord or to engage in sense gratification, as the case may be. That's why sometimes we think, oh, why am I not at all interested in chanting today? Right? Then we have to see what kind of consciousness we've had the previous day. What have we eaten? Right? What did we, how many hours did we sleep? Because all of that is going to have a bearing on our consciousness, because of which we will want to do or not want to do certain things which are conducive for us to advance in our spiritual life. So with this, we will end our the study of Easy Journey to Other Planets for today, and we'll continue this tomorrow. Now we will go on with the study of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12. In this chapter, Krishna actually gives us various options. If you cannot do this, do this. If you cannot do this, do this. Somehow or the other, come back to me, because Krishna is very eager for us to go back to him, rather than we ourselves are eager to practice a devotional service and go back home, back to Godhead. Right? And also at the end of the last 8 verses of Bhagavad Gita, the chapter 12, Krishna is actually giving us the qualities that makes one very, very dear to Lord Sri Krishna. So by reciting these verses, we can actually try to memorize. There are only 20 verses. We should try to memorize this particular chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And we will recite the verses now. And time permits, whenever it's possible, we should try to also go through the meaning, the translation, and the purport also. But at least the translation we should try to go through, so that we know the meaning of what each quality actually means, and so that we develop those qualities so they become dear to Lord Sri Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Arjuna Vacha. Evam satata yukta bhakta swam paryupasate ये चाप्यक्षरमव्यक्तं तेषां के योगवित्तमाः। श्रीभगवान् उवाच मय्यावेश्य मनो ये मां नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेतास्ते मे युक्ततमा मताः। ये त्वक्षरम् अनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गम् अचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थम् अचलं ध्रुवम् सन्नियम्येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः। क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते। ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम्। मय्येव मन आदत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अत ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः। अत चित्तं समादातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामिच्छाप्तुं धनञ्जय। अभ्यासेऽपि समर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थम् अपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिम् अवाप्स्यसि। अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यथात्मवान्। श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानात् ध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागस्त्यागः शान्तिरनन्तरम्। अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां. So these 8 verses, Nita Sevini Mataji calls us at Bhakta Bhakta Ashtakam. The 8 verses which gives us the qualities that we need to develop as bhaktas so as to realize Bhagavan and practice bhakti properly. So bhakti, bhakta and Bhagavan. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitraha karna evacha nirmamo nirahankarah samadukha sukakshami santushtaha satatam yogi yatatma drada nischayah mai arpita manobuddhir yomad bhakta same priyah यस्मान्नोद्विजते लोको लोकान्नोद्विजते च यः हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैर् मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः अनपेक्ष शुचिर्दक्ष उदासीनो गतव्यतः सर्वारम्भ परित्यागी यो मद्भक्त स मे प्रियः यो न हृष्यति न द्वेष्टि न शोचति न काङ्क्षति शुभाशुभ परित्यागी भक्तिमान्या स मे प्रियः समशत्रौ च मित्रे च तथा मान अपमानयोः शीतोष्णा सुख दुःखेषु समसंग विवर्जितः तुल्यनिन्दा स्तुतिर्मौनी सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेतः स्थिरमतीत् भक्तिमान् मे प्रियो नरः ये तु धर्मामृतमिदं यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धधाना मत्परमा भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियाः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So now we will go on to the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 31. This is the Gopis' songs of separation, also called as the Gopi Geet. We were just discussing how Prataprudra Maharaj got the blessing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although he is a king, he got the mercy and blessings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply by the recitation of this Gopi Geet. And so we are reciting this Gopi Geet, praying to their lordships, praying to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga to kindly bestow us their mercy, because we can practice devotional service only by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. So let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Gopyauchuhu Jayati Tedikam Janmana Vraja Shrayata Indira Shashwadatrahi Daita Drishatam Dikshutavakas Tvaidrita Savas Tvam Vichinvate Sharadudashaye Sadhu Jatasat Sarasijodhara Shri Mushadrisha Suratanathate Shulkadasika Varadanignato Neha Kimvadha Vishajalapyayat Vyalarakshasat Varshamarutat Vaidyutanalat Vrishamayatmajat Vishwato Bhayat Rishabhate Vayam रक्षिता मुहुः न खलु गोपिका नन्दनो भवान् अखिल देहिनाम् अन्तरात्मदृक् लिखन सार्थितो विश्वगुप्तये सखौ देहिवान् सात्वतां कुले विरचिता भयं वृष्णिदूर्यते चरणमीयुषां संश्रुतेर्भयात् करसरोरुहं कान्तकामदं शिरसि देहिना श्रीकराग्रहं व्रजजनार्तिहन् वीरयोषितां निजजनस्मया ध्वंसनस्मिता भज सखे भवात् किङ्करीस्मनो जलरुहाननं चारुदर्शया प्रणतदेहिनां पापकर्षणं तृणचरानुगं श्रीनिकेतनं फणिफणार्पितं ते पदाम्बुजं कृणुकुचेषु न कृन्दिहृच्चयं मधुरया गिरा वल्गुवाक्यया पुदमनोज्ञया पुष्करे क्षणा विधिकरीरिमा वीरमूयतीरदरसीतुना प्याययस्वना तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविविरीदितं कल्मपहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना प्रहसितं प्रिया प्रेमवीक्षणं विहरणं च ते ध्यानमङ्गलं रहसि संविदोया हृदि स्पृशः कुहकनो मना शोभयन्ति चलसि यद्व्रजा चारयान् पशून् नलिनसुन्दरं नाथ ते पदं शीलतृणाङ्कुरैः सीदतीति न कलिलतां मना कान्त गच्छति दिनपरीक्षये नीलकुण्टलैर्वनरुहाननं बिभ्रदावृतं गणरजस्वलं दर्शयान् मुहुर्मनसि न स्मरं वीरयच्छसि प्रणतकामदं पद्मजार्जितं धरणिमण्डनं ध्येयमापदि चरणपङ्कजं शन्तमं च ते रमणनस्तनेषु अर्पयादिहन् सुरतवर्धनं शोकनाशनं स्वरितवेणुना सुष्ठुचुम्बितम् इतररागवी स्मारणं नृणां पितरवीरनास्तेदरामृतम् अतति यद्भवान् अह्निकाननं त्रुतियुगायुते त्वामपश्यतम् त्रुतियुगायते त्वामपश्यताम् कुटिलकुण्ठलं श्रीमुखं च ते जडौदीक्षताम् पक्ष्मकृदृशाम् पतिसुतान्वया भ्रातृबान्धवान् अतिविलङ्घ्यते अन्त्यच्युतागताः गतिविदस्तवोद्गीतमोहिता कितवयोषिता कस्य जेन्निशि रहसि संविदं हृच्चयोदयं प्रहसिताननं प्रेमवीक्षणं बृहदुरश्रियो वीक्ष्य रामते मुहूर्ति स्पृहा मूयते मना प्रजवनौकसां व्यक्तिरङ्गते वृजिनहन्त्र्यलं विश्वमङ्गलं त्यजमनाक्षणास् त्वात्स्पृहात्मनां स्वजनहृदृजां यन्निषूदनं यत्ते सुजातचरणाम्बुरुहं स्तनेषु बीतः क्षणैः प्रियदधीमहि कर्कशेषु तेनातवीमतसि तद्यततेन किं स्वेत् Kurvatibhir-brahmatidhir-vavadayusham naha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So let's jump quickly onto Damodar Leela, today's lesson. So first we saw how Krishna is getting up in the morning on Diwali, and as he's coming down, he's hearing Yashoda Maya singing wonderful glories of Lord Krishna. So as we perform our Swadharma, as Mother Yashoda is churning buttermilk to get nice butter to offer to Krishna, she is chanting the whole names of the Lord. She's chanting the glories of Krishna. So we also, as we perform our Swadharma, should always chant the glories of the Lord, always remember the Lord, sing his glories. Secondly, Krishna comes and sits in the lap of Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda starts feeding breast milk to Lord Krishna. Mother Yashoda starts feeding breast milk to Lord Krishna. At that time, the milk is boiling in the stove, right? And the milk is thinking, what is the use of my being alive? Because Krishna is satisfied simply by the breast milk of Yashoda Maya. What is my use? So in this way, our life is also useless if we don't engage in the service of the Lord, right? So if we don't engage ourselves in the service of the Lord, we're actually committing spiritual suicide, right? So better we engage in the service of the Lord. Just like we gave the example of the hand. As long as it's connected to the body, the hand can serve the body, right? Similarly, as long as we're connected to Krishna through the process of devotional service, our life has some purpose. Otherwise, our life is useless. And then Mother Yashoda rushes because this is a very wonderful Padma Gandha cow's milk that Mother Yashoda has personally, milked the calves and the cows and taken this milk. And so Mother Yashoda rushes and Krishna is angry. Oh, my mother has left me and gone for that milk. So in this way, Krishna demands personal exclusive attention. That was our third lesson. That we have to prioritize Krishna over everything else. And then what happens? Krishna is very angry. Krishna is exhibiting his naughtiness. Krishna is, scattering all of the buttermilk which is there, which Mother Yashoda was churning, running here and there, and distributing butter to all the monkeys. In this way, it is explained that Lord Ramachandra, when Lord Krishna appeared as Lord Ram, the monkeys actually helped Lord Ramachandra actually cross over and go to Lanka. So Lord Ram actually wanted to express his gratitude to the monkeys, right? He could not do much for them. So he decided that when I'm coming as Lord Krishna, when I'm coming as in my Purna Purushottam avatar as Krishna, I will feed the monkeys and in this way express my reciprocation and gratitude. So in this way, our lesson for today is Krishna never forgets even the small things that we do for him. So whenever we render devotional service to the Lord, we know that Krishna will reciprocate. Maybe we are not realizing it. Maybe we are not getting taste in chanting Hare Krishna, right? Just like the monkeys got the reciprocation. The next, when Lord Ram actually, or when Krishna appeared in the form of Krishna, the next, this Lord Ram came in Treta Yuga and Krishna appeared in Dwapar Yuga, right? Ultimately, the monkeys got their share where Krishna personally fed them butter, right? So we also exercise devotional service by knowing that Krishna will always reciprocate. Maybe now, because of our anarthas, we are not able to realize Krishna's reciprocation. But there will come a time by our chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, we'll purify ourselves that we can have this kind of loving reciprocation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is our lesson for today. Continue our devotional service, irrespective of whether we are having any bliss felt in our heart, right? Because of anarthas, we may not feel bliss, but we should continue with the process of devotional service because Krishna is Bhava Grihi Janardana. Krishna will reciprocate with us. Krishna is already reciprocating with us. But we are not able to experience the reciprocation of the Lord. But we continue our process of devotional service, we will be able to realize this reciprocation of the Lord. All right. So now let's move on to Damodar Ashtakam and offering of lamb to Lord Damodar. Namameeshwaram Shachitanandarupam लासात् कुण्डालां गोकुले व्रजमाना यशोधाभियोलुकलाधवमाना परामृष्टामात्यन्ततो द्रुतगोप्या रुदन्तमुहुर्नेत्रयुग्ममृजान्ता कराम्बोजायुग्मेन सातङ्कनेत्रा मुहुश्वासकम्पा त्रिरेखाङ्ककण्ठा स्थिताग्रैवं दामोदरं भक्तिवदाम् इति दृक्ष्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषं निमज्जान्तमाप्यपयन्ताम् तडीशिताग्निषु भक्तैर्जितात्मा पुनः प्रेम तस्तां सदा वृत्तिवन्दे वरं देवमोक्षां न मोक्षवदीं वा न चान्यं वृणेहां वारेषदपीह निरं गोपालबाला सदा मे मनस्या विराष्टं किमन्यै इदं ते मूकाम्बोजमत्यन्तनीलैर्कृतं कुण्डलैः स्निग्धरक्तशगोप्या मोश्चुम्बितां बिम्बरपदरं मे मनस्या विराष्टमलं लक्षोलाभै नमो देव दामोदरानन्द विष्णु प्रसीद प्रभो दुःखजलभिमग्नम् कृपादृष्टिवृष्ट्यादीनं वदानो प्रियारेश मामाज्ञां यद्यक्षिदृष्टा कुबेरात्मजौ बाधमूर्जैव याद्वात् त्वयामुचितौ भक्तिवाजौ कृतौ च तदा प्रेमभक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयच्छ नमोक्षे ग्रहो मे श्रीरामोदरेह नमस्ते सुदाम्ने सुरादीप्तिदाम्ने त्वदीयोदरायात विश्वासदाम्ने नमो राधिकाय त्वदीयप्रियाय नमो अनन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर श्री राधे जय जय प्रभुपाद गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। श्री श्री राधा दामोदर भगवान की जय, श्री श्री यशोदा दामोदर भगवान की जय, दामोदर दान महामहोत्सवा की जय, अनंत कोटि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री गुरुदेव की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranams to all the devotees. Let's have darshan of all the 18 devotees who have joined us today for our special Kartik month program. We have Karpagavali Mataji, Vijayalakshmi Priya Mataji, Archana Mataji, Ramya Krishnan Mataji, Sneha Prabha Mataji, Sridhar Prabhu, Sindhu Mataji, Priyanka Mataji, Jyotsna Mataji, Swarna Gopi Mataji, Rajashri Mataji, Anjana Mataji, and all the wonderful devotees who have joined us today. Anjana Mataji, Rajashri Mataji, thank you all so much. Vanchakalpatarobhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Jai 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 Shri Radhe Sham, Jai 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 Shri Vrindavan Dham, Hare Krishna. So meet you all tomorrow morning, Brahma Murta chanting session 5 a.m. And then we'll meet again in the evening, 6 p.m. For our special Kartik session. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.